So will the Prime Minister pick up the phone and make it clear to President Trump that any attempts to interfere with our democracy are totally unacceptable?
That challenge in the UK Parliament was more than a political jab. It was the opening shot in what has become a brewing confrontation between NATO's closest allies. A fracture, rare but unmistakable, has erupted between London and Washington. A shockwave from the White House and a response in Westminster that has sent diplomatic ripples across Europe. U.S. President Donald Trump's new national security strategy, released just days ago, has detonated a fierce debate in Britain, igniting tensions with the United States and placing British Prime Minister Keir Starmer under intense scrutiny at home. The document from the White House warns that Europe faces civilisational erasure, accuses EU leaders of failing to control migration, and suggests the US should cultivate resistance to Europe's current trajectory. Strong words and a dramatic shift in tone toward Europe. But in Westminster, they landed like a political grenade. Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey seized the moment, accusing the American president of overreach and demanding Starmer draw a line. Davey called Trump's strategy deeply alarming, warning that it repeats far-right tropes and risks giving Moscow exactly what it wants.
Mr. Speaker, President Trump's new national security strategy is a deeply alarming document. Quite apart from the irony of President Trump accusing others of trampling on basic principles of democracy, it repeats far-right tropes of civilisational erasure and threatens that the US government will cultivate resistance in Europe. No wonder Vladimir Putin has welcomed that strategy. So will the Prime Minister pick up the phone and make it clear to President Trump that any attempts to interfere with our democracy are totally unacceptable?
He isn't alone. Analysts say the strategy softens Washington's tone toward Russia, even blaming Europe for blocking U.S. efforts to end the war in Ukraine, a point the Kremlin has openly welcomed. Moscow praised the document as largely consistent with its own worldview. For European capitals already reeling from Trump's criticisms, this was gasoline on the fire. In an interview with Politico, Trump went further, calling European leaders weak, accusing them of failing on migration, and saying they lacked the economic and military strength to be reliable allies. In London, all eyes turned to Keir Starmer. Would he confront the U.S. president, or try to preserve a relationship his government has worked hard to strengthen, especially with a new trade deal on the line? During Prime Minister's questions, his response walked a tightrope.
On the question of Europe and President Trump's comments, what I see is a strong Europe, united behind Ukraine and united behind our long-standing values of freedom and democracy, and I will always stand up for those values and those freedoms.
Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear about standing up to President Trump. And if we're going to stand up to President Trump, we do need to strengthen our ties with Europe, not just on defence, but on the economy too. And the truth is, this government will not succeed unless it gets our economy growing strongly again. And the best way to do that is a customs union with Europe. The Prime Minister's chief economic advisor knows it. The Deputy Prime Minister knows it. And yesterday, the Labour chair of the Treasury Select Committee showed she knows it too when she backed our bill. Does the Prime Minister fear that if he keeps opposing a customs union, in 12 months' time, he will not be standing there?
Mr. Speaker, we have got a close relationship with the EU through our reset earlier this year. And yes, I do want a closer relationship than the one we've got at the moment. We are moving towards that. We do have manifesto commitments on issues such as single market, customs union and freedom of movement. But I would gently point this out, that having now done significant trade deals with other countries, including the US and India, which are hugely important to the JLR workforce and on pharma, it is not now sensible to unravel what is effectively the best deal with the US that any country has got.
The tension highlights a growing reality. Both London and Washington need each other. But their visions for Europe's future and the war in Ukraine are pulling further apart. Downing Street insists diplomacy is still on track. Starmer spoke with Trump, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Friedrich Merz on Wednesday as part of continued peace talk negotiations over Ukraine. But Trump's new strategy leaves a cloud of uncertainty over NATO unity, just as Europe faces migration pressures, budget strains, and Russia's ongoing war. And so, two allies, bound by decades of military and political partnership, find themselves steering in opposite directions. The US pushing a harder line against European policy, Europe pushing back to defend its identity and independence, and the UK caught in the middle, balancing loyalty to Washington with responsibility to its own democracy. As Trump reshapes America's stance on Europe, and as Starmer faces pressure at home to stand firmer, NATO's unity is being tested in ways not seen in a generation. The question now, how long can the alliance hold when its strongest members are pulling apart?
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That has often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out data.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.